Yo, what is going on, guys? Matthew V. Haynes here, aka the Clockmaster. Now, if you guys have not seen my spoiler-free review and my spoiler review for Spider-Man Homecoming, please make sure to check that out. Link will be right up there. Right now, I'm going to be talking about some Easter eggs that you might have missed, may or may not have missed. You know, if you're a comic book guy or you really pay attention to things, these are things, some of these things that I'm going to list on this list that I have here may have been obvious to you. Other things may not have been obvious, you might have missed it, so I'm just going to go over some of this stuff right now. Now, the first Easter egg that I want to bring to your guys' attention, if you have not noticed it by now, which is crazy, is damage control. Now, damage control is a great reference to some of the stuff that's been going on in the comic books, damage control comic books, some stuff that has been mentioned in some of the animated series and stuff like that, different versions. Damage control, you know, essentially these people just come in, they clean up after superheroes fight and destroy cities. Now, this is another Easter egg that I noticed. I don't know if many people noticed this, and it's kind of minor. It's not nothing really major, but is this Star Wars reference, not just the Death Star, but other things in Peter Parker's room. So if you see, you can see all over his room with all these battleships, all these Star Wars battleships, and it's just a quick reference back to Captain America Civil War, especially when he made that Empire Strikes Back joke, and it just shows how much Peter Parker really loves Star Wars. Now, guys, this next one here is sort of a big one depending on how you look at it. Donald Glover's character, Aaron Davis. Now, that is such a big part because Aaron Davis is actually the Prowler. Once was, you know, did crime and everything like that, then turned over to, you know, being a well, not necessarily a superhero, but a hero, you know, fighting for the good of mankind and all that stuff like that. But what's so special about this is that Aaron Davis is actually Miles Morales' uncle. Now, there's a scene in the movie where he's, you know, he's talking to Peter Parker. He's trying to have this little interview and everything, and I think it was really great. Like, this one of the most funny scenes in the entire movie where he's talking to Spider-Man and he's like, yo, where are the people? He should have this interrogation protocol. Like, this thing, the part was amazing. But he's, you know, he says, you know what, no, I don't want any of these weapons on the street. I got a nephew that lives here. Oh man, that's such a great reference, you know, Miles Morales. Now, Kevin Feige did confirm that there's going to be Miles Morales at some point in the MCU. We won't see him anytime soon, though, because keep in mind, this Peter Parker is only 15 years old, and when Miles Morales kind of steps on the scene and gets the spider bite and everything, he's around age 14, 13, between ages of 13 and 15, so we're not going to see him anytime soon. You know, it's going to be a couple years before we actually really get to see that, but it's nice to know we have an early reference and stuff to go off of. Now, this next one here is also really cool. It sets up for the next movie. Scorpion, Matt Gargan, he actually makes an appearance in this film. He was on the ferry ride, and then he was in jail speaking to Michael Keaton. Vulture in the jail cell there. You guys know that's Scorpion. And then you actually see when he's there, you can actually see the Scorpion tattoo on his neck, which is really cool, setting up for maybe some Sinister Six stuff going on. He has this conversation with Vulture, and he's like, you know, do you know who Spider-Man is? Do you know his name? I got some buddies outside that want to take him down, and that could be leading up to Sinister Six. I can see that. I can see some Green Goblin stuff going on in there, you know, and there's also this whole thing going on, maybe Oscorp coming in and taking over where the Avengers Tower used to be, setting up for Green Goblin, setting up for some other Spider-Man movies. So this can go so far, but this is amazing that we're getting hints of all these other Spider-Man villains that can make a return or make an appearance on screen in general. Now, in the movie that referenced this, Michelle Jones, we have Zendaya's character. They say, yo, she said, oh, wow, at the end of towards the end of the movie, where, you know, they elect her as the new captain of the decathlon thingy, and she's like, oh, my friends, they call me MJ. Now, she's not Mary Jane. This could be the MCU's version of a Mary, but she's not Mary Jane. Her name is Michelle, and it's more or less a reference to the older movies, more of a reference to the Tobey Maguire movies. They have MJ there, and there's also a statement where she goes, you know, go get him, Tiger. No one actually says this in the film, but there's actually a poster, and I actually noticed this when I was watching the movie, that it actually says, go get him, Tigers. So it was really cool. It was a nice reference to some, you know, the original Spider-Man films from back in the day. I say back in the day like it was really old. I was a kid when it came out, but with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Captain America's shield, and Thors Magic belt. Now, I was listening very intently to when every time Happy spoke or Tony Stark spoke or anything like that. When Happy, they're packing up this jet, they're moving up to, you know, Albany or wherever they're going to be, upstate New York, moving the Avengers headquarters. We actually seen a little piece of this in Captain America Civil War. We've seen a piece of that. I think we saw it in Ant-Man as well. Some other stuff I think we saw it in Ant-Man. I can't really remember. But they're talking, and then he's on the phone, and he's going over a list of things, and he's like, Captain America's prototype shield, and he's talking Thor's magic belt. Oh man, so that indicates that, you know, obviously Captain America's gonna get his shield back, and then now he's gonna get his shield back, and it's kind of setting up for Infinity War, of course, because they're gonna need him, they're gonna need all the Avengers and everyone else that they can get, because we all know there's gonna be over 60+ characters, especially in one scene. They said that too, which is gonna be amazing to see on screen. I literally can't wait for that. But that's setting up for Infinity War and everything like that. Now, Thor's magic belt is something more of a comic book reference to most people who really know about Thor like that. His magic belt is really just a belt that he enhances his strength upon the strength that he already has. So of course he's you know, son of Odin, he already has super strength, but this kind of just makes him a little bit more stronger. So that's kind of just a reference to that. I can never pronounce the name of his belt, but it begins with an M, sort of like Milner, but I can never pronounce it. Now, this was a super geeky moment for me in the movie towards the end of the film, where you know, Spider-Man goes up to the Avengers headquarters, and Tony Stark's trying to introduce this new, you know, we got a press outside, they want to talk to you, shows him this new suit, and right away I knew it was the Iron Spider suit. Right away, just the color schemes and everything. This was such a great way. I think they did a really good job of introducing the Iron Spider suit in this movie, because in the comic books, if you're familiar with it, I first saw the Iron Spider suit in the Civil War comic books. If you haven't seen it before, kind of this burgundy on gold with this, you know, stuff coming out, and you know, it's obviously made by Iron Man. He gives it to Spider-Man in that story, and then here we have the Iron Spider. So that was obviously the Iron Spider suit. That was really great. I really wished he had put it on, but you know, he says, no, I'm not ready for that yet. Just, you know, he accepts the original suit that he has, and he moves on with that. But I do believe at some point, if not in Infinity War, maybe after, you know, get into phase 4 or something like that, we may see that Iron Spider suit, because they're not going to show it if they're not going to use it. I'm pretty sure they're going to use it at some point, and it only makes sense too, because around this time in the comic books, well, comic book Civil War is when he has the Iron Spider suit, and even though it's a little bit different than the film, this is Spider-Man Homecoming is shortly a little bit after the events of Civil War, so it's kind of a good way to kind of twist it or kind of match up some of the storylines between that and the original Civil War. Now, the scene with the Shocker, that's kind of like a reference to Crossbones, and this kind of a reference because that little arm he had, the little punching thingy there he had there on the Shocker, I shock people. That arm there it's similar, very similar to what, you know, the tech that Crossbones was using in, you know, Age of Ultron and stuff like that, and you know, it's kind of a reference to that. It was showing, you know, some of the Chitauri tech and some of the other things that they salvaged from other, you know, that was used in other movies, and they kind of brought it together and used it. So that was a really cool little scene there. Kind of noticed that. It was really awesome. This one is not that hidden, but it's kind of obvious, but it was still pretty cool to see. And when Vulture was trying to, at the end of the, close to the end of the movie, around the 3rd act, where he's trying to rob the plane, and he goes in, and all those arc reactors. Now, we know that Tony had it removed at one point, you know, he's not really living off of it, and it was pretty cool to see that he has so many of them just in a box, just sitting there, which is really cool. I'm like, what the heck is he doing with all these arc reactors? He just has so many of them. It could be just, you know, hints of stuff maybe for future Iron Man suits, maybe some things for a whole bunch of a legion of Iron Man suits that he may be making in the future, stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe that's what that was. Another small thing there is the ring mention. Now, Happy says, you know, where's the ring? You know, you got the ring. He throws the ring when Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm so glad she came back for this film just to make a little cameo appearance. It was just amazing, because I didn't know she was going to return back to this franchise at all. We haven't seen her in the recent film. They kind of just referenced her a little bit in Civil War. They haven't really showed, oh, how's Pepper doing? I don't know how she's doing. You know, stuff like that. So I'm glad to see that they're back and their relationship is still growing, and it's really cool. I was so happy when I saw her on screen. But Happy brings out the ring and he throws it to her, throws it to them. He's like, I had this since 2008. So that's kind of referencing the 2000, you know, their initial release of the first movie that started it all. So I really just thought, you know, that was a really cool homage to the 2008 of Iron Man. Then, of course, you get the post-credit scenes with Captain America, and even the PSA's kind of stuff going, these videos they had in school going on with Captain America, and I like the jokes they made. Isn't this guy a wanted war hero? But anyway, whatever. Those jokes are pretty cool, and then that troll at the end, that post-credit troll. Oh man, that post-credit troll was just amazing. You know, he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How many more films I got left? You know, or how many things I got left? How many of these are we doing? That thing was just really cool. I enjoyed the little Captain America cameos in there. So that was a nice reference to, you know, just reminding us that this is in the MCU. And this is probably the biggest Easter egg that you might not have even noticed unless you really read comic books and stuff like that. But there's a scene in the movie where Peter Parker's trapped underneath all that rubble, and a lot of people have missed this. You know, and stuff like that. I didn't even really notice this until I was like, oh shoot. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, what? Whoa, this is what that was. Yeah, this is really cool. It's actually that's actually homage. That scene where there's actually homage to the Amazing Spider-Man. I think it was issue 33, the final chapter. I think it was the front cover there, and then they had the actual scenes. And there's a scene there where he's covered underneath all that rubble, and he has to, you know, finds motivations and then pushes himself up. It was referenced to that, and they're kind of like paying respect to that. So I really thought that was a nice touch. It was really more for the comic book people who really, you know are very familiar with that iconic scene, that iconic part of the story, the final chapter, and of issue number 33, Amazing Spider-Man. And it was just a great reference to that. I mean, I know a lot of comic book fans who knew what that was just like, whoa, this is amazing. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you as far as the Easter eggs or things you might have not really noticed, or things, maybe things you might have noticed it already and stuff like that. It's not news to you. But regardless, nonetheless, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this list, man. I will continue to talk about some more Spider-Man Homecoming stuff in the future. There's so much to talk about. I gotta go watch it again, maybe do a re-review. I don't know, man, or maybe a second or third review, I don't know. But anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe if you are new. I will check you guys out in the next one. Clockmaster out.